One more, and then we need to move on, I think.
Hi. Good morning. I have a question when it comes to the Middle East regarding the potential in the future. I mean, I agree with you at the moment, as the current conditions are, that the U.S. has to maintain a role in the Middle East. But I'm interested to hear your perspective on if the conditions would change. I heard recently that there were developments in the new renewable energy via like nuclear fusion. And in the eventuality that nuclear fusion could be a eventual transition out of the conventional ways that we power everything, could that mean potentially that the Middle East, as at the moment, I mean, you mentioned Iran, you know, the Strait of Hormuz, the fact that all of those choke points have a way with shipping out the oil and everything, if that became a less valuable resource or less crucial as it is right now, could that alter the U.S.'s relationship with the Middle East, and maybe more broadly beyond the U.S. in a global capacity, alter maybe how the world perceives the Middle East and maybe its importance? Because at the moment it is important, but maybe in the future, could it potentially be a backwater in times like maybe decades in the future? Thank you.
Great question. So right now, the United States gets very little hydrocarbon from the Middle East. We're largely self-sufficient. In fact, we're exporting. However, the rest of the world still gets a lot of hydrocarbon out of the Middle East. And, you know, the oil market, the hydrocarbon market's a vast pool. Disruption anywhere is disruption everywhere. So it's not just the United States interest, but the rest of the world. So look, I tend to think in deep time as you're talking, if we're able to solve fusion, if you're able to get cheap renewable energy, then certainly that's going to affect the relative importance of the Middle East, because some of the reasons we're there are purely pragmatic. Not we so much now, but our neighbors, our allies and friends across the world need the hydrocarbons that come out of there. So if you find an alternative to that, certainly I think that's going to affect your calculation. However, there's still reason to stay there. Some of the reasons I've already, the other commerce comes through there. We have an interest in Iran not having a nuclear weapon. We have an interest in states obeying, with the rule of law, being good neighbors. So I think we're always going to be interested in the Middle East. The level of interest might decline, but look, the United States is a global power. So we have a responsibility to think globally. And that means that over time, different parts of the world will receive different emphasis. For example, today, Europe has a lot more emphasis than it had 10 years ago, where it was really seen as sort of a sleepy backwater. Pretty quiet, not much going on. Well, as you know, things are very different in Europe today. So I think we've got to be able to flex to changing conditions. I don't know what, the possibility of cheap electrical power that's going to largely replace hydrocarbon as part of the energy chain. I hope we get there. I think it would be good for all of us if we got there, most particularly good for the planet if we can get there. But I think it's many years ahead. But you've noted that. That's a good question, worth thinking about.